Good evening, everyone. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, tonight we begin with a topic that in some way or some form impacts everyone. Montana and Wyoming, both states filled with natural beauty, rugged history, and good people. But we also share a commonality that doesn't make us so proud. Per capita, our two states rank first and third for deaths by suicide. In both states, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 44. And though the why may be hard to understand, what you need to know, 3 simple words can help save lives.
Nobody really wants to die. People want the pain to stop.
The most important message Dr. Eric Arzubi, a child and adult psychiatrist, wants the world to understand about suicide.
It's not that people don't want to live. A lot of them feel like they've exhausted every possible way of getting closer to having peace of mind, slowing down the thoughts that are sort of distressing and upsetting. Can't find relief, don't know how to find relief, and ultimately feel trapped.
The reasons run deep: childhood trauma, loss, genetics, isolation, risk factors, and mental health issues come from every direction and moment in life. Data shows while 12 million Americans have serious thoughts about suicide, nearly 48,000 complete it each year. And 2020 data reveals nearly 69% of Wyoming communities do not have enough mental health providers to serve residents. In Montana, that number jumps to 88%.
I hope that at least what we're trying to do is try to make it really easy to access mental health care, no matter where people are in Montana.
Frontier Psychiatry reaches beyond miles and borders and brings patients face to face with mental health experts in rural hospitals all across the state.
Too often it's really difficult, either because the resources aren't there, people aren't around, there's a long wait list.
If you're concerned about a friend, family member, or colleague, encourage them to seek professional help, whether that's texting, calling, or physically helping them reach that safety. But often, even before that step, help can begin with conversation.
Just ask them open-ended questions when you're talking with them. Don't say, oh, you're doing okay, right?
Megan Saunders knows suicide firsthand and now helps others cope with the loss and learn the tools.
And it might be scary, and that's okay, but just let them use their voice and tell you what's going on with them, because I think for so many people struggling with any sort of mental illness, all they want is a space to be heard and connected to.
And what happens, understandably so, is that a parent will respond and say, no, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. Your life is fine. Isn't your life fine? And what that closes the conversation right away, versus saying, tell me more, right? And by saying, tell me more, it opens up the conversation. Now, inside, we want to say, no, don't kill yourself. That's a bad idea. Stop it. But that's not necessarily what the person needs to hear at that moment. What they need to hear at that point is acceptance and empathy and curiosity. Tell me more.
3 words that could help save lives. If you or someone else is in crisis, text TALK to 741-741 or call 1-800-273-8255. Q2 is teaming up with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for this year's Yellowstone Valley Out of the Darkness Walk. It's this Sunday, September 19th at Will James Middle School here in Billings. You can register, it's free, learn more or donate by clicking into this story at KTVQ.com or going to afsp.org/Montana. Your donations truly help save lives. Those funds help spread preventative education and assistance to those in crisis.
Fluctuations in the temperatures are really going to be evident as we start getting into the next week, from well above average readings to much cooler than average readings. Sheridan, you could even be looking at some showers by the time we get into the first part of next week. And Livingston, the same story, except we'll add in some wind, and that'll increase fire risk towards the middle part of the week, but the big drop in temperatures will follow. As we look into areas around Miles City, you may actually have some of the biggest fluctuations in the temperatures, from well above average to much cooler than we would typically see for this time in September. And Billings is going to follow suit as well. We're going to look at temperatures and the chance of precipitation to move up and down over the course of the next 7 days. A lot of weather to talk about. We'll have complete details in just a few minutes.
1 year ago, 28 homes were destroyed by the Bridger Foothills fire, and we were one of the first news crews to come up into the burn scar while the fire continued to burn. And meanwhile, just down the hill from here, thousands were coming together to raise and rally donations for those who lost their homes. Bill Fenigers was one of them. We visited him last time, and now, as you can see, he is rebuilding.
It's been a long year trying to figure it all out.
Driving up the road to where Bill Fenigers' home used to stand is a drive through a color spectrum. The trees turned from green back to black and brown. To Bill, with around 30 homes lost, a total of 68 structures destroyed, it's like night and day a year later.
In our development, we lost, 5 houses were lost out of 22. Everything was still so black. The ground, no trees. We took down almost 1,500 trees on our 25 acres.
There isn't a picture frame, there isn't a dish, there isn't a fork.
Looking back to that day and the last few seconds of front porch captured on Bill's home camera, he and his wife Sally lost everything in seconds. But while he remembers that part, that's not the part he holds on to now.
The core of the people that we know for all those years is what has risen to the occasion for Sally and I.
Neighbors helping neighbors.
Where we filmed originally, he's donating to build me a new flagpole.
Bill's flag, replaced by former Gallatin County Sheriff Brian Gutkin as the fire continued to burn elsewhere, is a part of the future ground plan. And yes, he still has it.
I've told him how much it meant to me and the flag that he put up. We've kept that flag, and that flag will be the one that will fly on the new flagpole. We can look at the mountain and we know what happened. It's just amazing how nature preserves the goodness that comes out of the soil. The scars need to be there to remind people what it's all about. And so we don't forget that things can happen.
As for Bill, he says his home is expected to be complete again in 1 more year. In the Bridger Canyon foothills, I'm Cody Boyer, MTN News.
On Monday night, the Billings City Council is expected to hear presentations on 2 marijuana ordinances that would ban the licensure of new marijuana businesses in Billings for the next 90 days. If approved with a single 2/3 majority vote, the ordinances would allow city staff more time to research the effects of adding new marijuana businesses into the city limits. Starting the 1st of next year, if the 27 medical marijuana dispensaries in Yellowstone County are in good standing with the state and local authority, they can sell recreational marijuana to adults over the age of 21. The new ordinances would allow the city time to evaluate the impacts of adding other new marijuana businesses, like testing labs, cultivation, and manufacture. The ordinances would also call out a timeline of 90 days for city staff to report its research findings back to the council, with the intent of crafting policy afterwards. The Billings City Council still has yet to decide which and how many of 6 different types of marijuana businesses can operate within the city, and where those businesses can be located, along with whether any testing of products will be required at the city level. On a separate issue of whether to allow recreational dispensaries into the city limits, the voters will have their say in an election coming up on November 2nd. And even if the voters approve the recreational dispensaries, it will still fall to the council as to their number and specific location within the city. Join us back here tonight for a recap of the council meeting. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
It's taken roughly 500 hours to detail paint every inch of this wall here on 13th Street, but one Billings woman says it is all worth it if it means she can brighten up Billings 1 underpass at a time.
You might think art is usually created in the calm and silent areas of our inspired minds.
I get a lot of honks and waves and shouts.
but not quite here.
A lot of people saying thank you, but I thank them for all of their support.
Here, Elisa Leninger uses her surroundings as motivation.
I like the baby bison with its mom. It kind of shows like new life and the beginning of a life, and he's standing up for the first time, and she's kind of helping him, and you can see his legs are a little wobbly.
She's here because of a grant secured from the Big Sky Economic Development with the help of the Southside Neighborhood Task Force to turn slabs of concrete gray into bold browns, hues of bright and joyful oranges, and uplifting yellows.
And collectively, we call these two murals the gateway to the Yellowstone.
This is her second underpass mural, a tribute to what stood here before any of us.
So this is a view from the rims of the Yellowstone Valley, like a panoramic view. So these are all of the landscapes that surround the Yellowstone Valley, kind of depicting it before the time of humans being here. So there's all the bison that roam the valley.
Painting for her comes easy.
When I started painting, I just fell in love with it and kept going.
Because her motivation to keep going is Montana.
Yes, this is where I grew up, and it's what I know, and I always admire the landscape surrounding the Yellowstone Valley and Billings area.
They say when a person looks at art they see as beautiful, instantly your body releases dopamine and lowers the stress hormone.
I just want them to smile.
So with that in mind, she wants others to feel just like that.
I hope it makes their day just a little bit brighter.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Still to come on your MTN 530 News here on Q2, from a triple threat to a scoop and score. We have the top 5 hard-hitting highlights from across the state in just a bit.
I'm Russ Priesinger. Some of the best four-legged athletes in the area showing off their abilities. We'll have the story coming up next.